welcome. Today we are going to look at History Paper 1, Questions and Answers. Section A, 25 marks. Question A. Give 2 reasons for the migration of the Bantu from their cradle land. 1. Search for land for agriculture. 2. Population pressure at the cradle land. 3. They were looking for pasture for their livestock. 4. To escape from natural calamities such as drought and famine. 5. The outbreak of diseases forced them to migrate. 6. Spirit of adventure. Question 2. Identify the main reasons why the Mijikenda lived in kayas: to guard against attacks or for security purposes. 3. State 3 religious practices of the Agikuyu during the pre-colonial period. They practiced ancestral worship. 2. They practiced in one god, that is Ngai. 3. They worshiped God in sacred places that were set aside for this purpose. 4. They offered sacrifices to God. 5. Their diviners interpreted God's message. Question 4. Identify one Agikuyu leader who collaborated with the British. 1. Karori of Gatkure of Muranga. 2. Kinyanjui wa Gathirimo of Dagoreti. Question 5. Give one reason why African communities were settled in reserves during the colonial period. 1. To create room for European settlement. 2. To facilitate the reservation of the White Islands for European settlement. 6. State one reason why the 1957 elections are important in the history of Kenya. For the first time, the Africans participated in elections. 7. Name the first African-nominated member of parliament in colonial Kenya. Eliud Matho. 8. Name the Kenyan leader under whom the country joined the OAU. Jomo Kenyatta. Question 9. Name 2 trade unions Tom Mboya was associated with during the colonial period. 1. Kenya Local Government Workers Union. 2. Kenya Federation of Registered Trade Unions. 3. Kenya Federation of Labor. Question 10. Give one reason why Jomo Kenyatta formulated the Harambee philosophy. To promote a sense of mutual responsibility in solving national problems, particularly disease, ignorance, and poverty. 11. Identify 2 ways by which Kenyan citizenship can be obtained: by birth, by descent, by registration, by naturalization. Question 12. State 2 causes of personal conflicts: incitement by outsiders or others, inability to meet other people's expectations, violation of other people's rights, personality differences, differences in opinion, security threats, for example in marriage or workplace. Question 13. Give 2 economic rights of a Kenyan citizen. 1. Right to equal pay for equal work, right to own property, right to associate, for example to belong to a trade union. 5. Right to join professional organizations. Question 14. State 2 functions of returning officers in Kenya. 1. To receive nomination papers from aspiring candidates. 2. To distribute ballot boxes, papers, and other voting equipment to the polling stations. 3. To supervise voting and counting of votes in the constituencies. Question 15. Identify 2 members of the cabinet in Kenya. 1. The president. 2. Vice president, head of civil service or secretary of the cabinet, the attorney general, and ministers. 16. Give one function of the provincial administration in Kenya. Maintain law and order in the province. Coordinate development activities in the province. Interpret and explain government policies to the people. Link the central government and the people. Supervise government projects in the province. Administer the province on behalf of our president. Section B, 45 marks. 17A. State 5 economic activities of the Maasai in the pre-colonial period. They practiced pastoralism. They traded with their neighbors. They practiced ironworking. The Kwavi, that is the Lekop, practiced agriculture. They raided cattle from neighboring communities. They practiced hunting and gathering. 17B. Describe the social organization of the Maasai in the pre-colonial period. The Maasai were organized into clans. Each clan had its name and cattle brand. They initiated the youth into adulthood through circumcision, which was performed at the age of 15 or 16 years. After initiation, boys became junior warriors, that is the Ilimuran. During initiation, they elected one member of their group to be their leader, Oleguanani. The Oleguanani was represented with a ceremonial club, that is Orika, to symbolize his status. The Oleguanani organized raids and shared the loot. The Ilimuran lived separately in Manyata, where they were drilled in military techniques. Members of the same age sets were in the same age grade up to 15 years. From junior warriors, they progressed to senior warriors and finally to senior elders. The Maasai believed in one God, Enkai, the creator of the universe. They offered prayers and sacrifices to Enkai in shrines. 18A. State 3 grievances that the Asians in Kenya had against the colonial administration by 1923. Inadequate political representation. Exclusion from the White Highlands. Discrimination in the provision of social services. Question 18b. What were the grievances of Africans against the government between 1920 and 1939? The Kipande system, which required all adult African males to carry identity cards. The system was racist because it was only Africans who were required to carry it. The Africans opposed to it because they felt that it was a way of ensuring that they continued to provide cheap labor in the settler farms. 2. The government had alienated African land and given it to settlers. Land alienation continued well into the 1930s. For example, after the discovery of gold in Kakamega, many Africans were displaced to enable the colonialists to exploit the mineral resources there. 3. The notary circulars of 1918 and 1919 required that all chiefs recruit African labor for settler farms. Some chiefs resorted to the use of force to obtain the required number. This explains why Africans were resistant and rebellious colonial chiefs. 4. Africans were forced to pay taxes. 5. Africans were opposed to the cut in wages in June 1921. African wages were cut by up to 30% in spite of the economic hardship resulting from the Great Depression. 6. The government's introduction of compulsory destocking campaigns in some parts of the country in the 1930s. The introduction of this in Ukampani caused discontent because their campers suspected that this was aimed at forcing them to sell their cattle cheaply at newly opened at the River Meat Factory. 7. The issue of female circumcision was yet another cause of discontent. Circumcised girls were expelled from mission schools and this led to the establishment of independent schools. 8. Africans were opposed to the colony status and preferred to be under protectorate. 9. Africans wanted to be allowed to vote for African representatives in the LegCo. 19a. State 5 factors that enabled the Mau Mau freedom fighters to sustain the war against the British. 1. Some of the freedom fighters were experienced ex-servicemen and therefore possessed skillful military know-how. 2. The fighters and their own source of guns, that is, the homemade guns and captured guns from the British. 3. Some of the ex-servicemen provided good leadership, inspiration and guidance to the freedom fighters. 4. The natural forests provide the freedom fighters with good hideouts. 5. The freedom fighters enjoyed the support of the local people who supplied them with food and relevant information about the movement of the British troops. 6. All things united the freedom fighters and announced their commitment to the struggle. 7. The guerrilla tactics used by the freedom fighters made it difficult for the British to suppress the rebellion. 19b. Discuss the contribution of KCSE to the nationalist struggle. 1. The formation of KCSE was the first serious effort by African nationalists to establish a national party in Kenya. KCSE gave both moral and material support to the Mau Mau freedom fighters. 2. Some of the KCSE leaders provided leadership and direction to the Mau Mau freedom fighters and the nationalist struggle in general. 3. KCSE was able to give guidance and advice to the first African nominated member of parliament. 4. It was partly through the effort of KCSE that the British government began to give some concessions to the nationalist demands. 5. KCSE laid the foundation for the formation of KANU, which led Kenya to independence. 20a. Identify 3 challenges in the provision of medical care services Kenya has since independence. Poverty, high doctor-to-patient ratio, that is 1 is to 10,000. Recurrent diseases, for example, malaria, tuberculosis, and typhoid. HIV/AIDS pandemic, disparity between urban and rural areas. 20b. Explain 6 achievements in the provision of health services during the post-colonial period in Kenya. 1. Increasing numbers of healthcare personnel are being trained. These include doctors, pharmacists, clinical officers, and nurses. Both the government and the private sectors are involved. 2. There has been expansion of hospitals and health centers countrywide. In addition, there are national referral hospitals for i.e. Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi and Moi University Teaching Hospital in Eldoret. 3. Preventive care programs, for example, immunization, family planning, and voluntary counseling and testing, that is for HIV/AIDS, are conducted. 4. The African Medical Research Foundation, that is AMREF, has mobilized women towards developing and sustaining primary health-oriented projects which lead to nutrition, hygiene, and prenatal care. 5. Kenya has gained support for health programs from international organizations, for example, the World Health Organization. 6. The Kenyan Medical Research Institute coordinates medical research institute and health research programs. 7. Training facilities for medical personnel have increased. Both the government and the private sector are involved. The University of Nairobi, Moi University, and Aga Khan University, Nairobi, are involved. Section C, 30 marks. 21A, define the term national integration. It is the coming together of people of different political, economic, and social backgrounds to form one nation with a common history, language, and government. 21B, discuss the importance of national integration. 1. It fosters unity and cooperation between people of different backgrounds within a state. It enables people to disregard the initial difference for the good of the nation. 3. It provides national development. It enables people to pool their resources together to develop the country, for example, construct schools and facilities. 3. It promotes peace and stability of a country as the people are able to coexist harmoniously. 4. It provides security in a state because it eliminates suspicion between people. 5. It also enables people to solve their common problems together, for example, provides famine relief to people living in drought-stricken areas. 6. It also facilitates the realization of national goals as people progress in the same direction. 7. It facilitates efficient and effective communication between people through the use of national language. 8. It promotes collective responsibility in a nation because the people participate in development of the country. 22A, identify 3 types of children rights: developmental rights, protection rights, survival rights, participatory rights. 22B, discuss the rights of a child as per the Children's Act in 2002. 1. Every child, including a fetus in the mother's womb, is entitled to life. It is the duty of the family and the government to protect the life of a child. 2. Right to protection from discrimination. No child is to be discriminated on basis of race, sex, religion, or otherwise. 3. Right to religious education. Parents should get children on religious matters to facilitate spiritual growth. 4. Right to good medical care. Both family and government should avail medical services to a child whenever the need arises. 5. Right to good food and clothing. Parents should provide for their needs to facilitate proper physical development. 6. Right to protection from exploitation. Children must be protected from all forms of exploitation by parents or the wider society. 7. Right to a name and identity. Every child is entitled to a name and to belong to a community or state. It is therefore the responsibility of parents and the government to name and give a child an identity. 8. Right to protection from sexual abuse. 9. Right to protection from recruitment into war. The government should ensure the security of children in the event of war. 10. Right to play and leisure. Children must be allowed time to play and socialize both in school and at home. 23A. Define national budget. It is a country's financial statement which contains an estimate of the expected revenue and expenditure within a financial year. 23B. Explain the importance of national budget. 1. It enables a country to identify its sources of income within a financial year. These may include taxes, loans, income from government, parastatals, and agriculture. 2. It enables the government to prioritize expenditure of scarce revenue. Through budgeting, the government is able to finance the very urgent projects. 3. It enables both citizens and foreign organizations to keep track of the government's economic policies. 4. It enables the government to estimate its financial requirements for the financial year. 5. It gives Parliament an opportunity to discuss and approve sources of government revenue and expenditure. 6. It enables citizens to assess the performance of a government within a given financial year. 7. It enables proper use of government revenue as each department has to prove its expenditure before more allocations are made. 8. It promotes transparency and accountability in the government. Did you understand? Kindly let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know what video I can do tomorrow. Thanks a lot for subscribing and listening to me. God bless you.